Hey friends, what's going on? We are getting into another web dev office hours today. So let's see, what do we got here? We are going to pull up the code that we worked on. Wait, that's not it. Oh no, that was it. Give me one moment while I get this all sorted out. Okay, so let's see, where were we? Let's bump this up. Once again, we're dealing with this weird issue. Okay, we've got our code working. We've got some weird stuff there. We're going to restart that server, and let's pull that up in localhost. Okay, we've got an error. Could not resolve cookies from, or guesses from cookies. So I think that inside of, what's it telling me? Could not resolve /cookies. So where was that? Inside of here? No. Inside of root? There we go. So inside of session. Okay. So we are no longer importing, let's see, this file. Okay, that should be working now. No, sorry. That doesn't exist. So that should work now. And you can't even see what I'm doing, can you? Okay, sorry about that. There we go. Let's look at the code that we're working on. All right, is my app running? Reload. It is running. Okay, so we've got a Worldle clone that we're working on. And where did we leave off? We could make some guesses, and we could send those guesses, and they would go to the back end. And then if we send our second guess, the problem is we were basically overwriting the data that we had in memory. And I think that that's something to do with how remix.run works. Essentially, you don't want to store things in memory because after all, it's designed to work in a serverless environment. So that memory may not be preserved across sessions or across instances. So to fix that, what we're trying to do is work with cookies, the way that the remix team recommends. So in our, let's see, our initial session here, when a user comes to this route and loads, we want to check whether a previous session already existed. So if the session existed, let's see, what did we want to do? I had to talk to the remix guys to figure out what the problem was here, and I don't remember how to fix it. So when our app loads, this is the root route, and we need to grab the data, this loader. We need to use this loader to grab the data because this is going to run on the server side and the client side, and then it's going to provide that information, whatever we return, it'll provide that information into our component. So what we want to do, I don't think we need this. I think what we want to do is essentially grab any guesses that have existed if they've previously existed. So if it's the first time coming to this application, we want guesses to be an array. If it's not, then we want guesses to be whatever it was the last time you were here. I don't know if that's clear. Basically, we want this to always be an array, which means when this loader runs for new people, we need to return an array. And if not, we need to create an array. Or no, sorry, if it's the second table of come, that array should already exist and may or may not be full of things. So we're pulling in those guesses from a different file. And in fact, we don't want to do that. What we want to do is instantiate it here. So let guesses equals that array. Okay, and then we're going to check if the session already has that cookie with the guesses in it. If it does, we're going to assign guesses. Session.set. Sorry, no. If session has guesses, then guesses equals the session dot get previous guesses. And then I don't think we need to commit that session. So now we're basically grabbing those guesses. If they don't exist, we're going to define them. If they do exist, we're overwrite what was there. And we're going to return the original. That should work because whether it's the first time, they'll get this array. If they're coming back, they'll either get the same array or they will have made some guesses. Hope that was clear. So let's reset that. And I'm going to just log the previous guesses were here. And I'm going to assume that I will have an array in my console. It's going to take a while to save. Okay, cool. There's my previous guesses. So that's working as expected. So now what I need to do is instead of updating the backend, my action, when action comes in, what I've been doing, pushing guesses to this new array. What I actually need to do is modify the cookies that are coming from that request. So I'm going to look up the remix.run approach because I think that they have a little bug in their system. So let's go cookies. Are we at cookies? Cookies. I don't see cookies. No. I want cookies. Try reloading that. Maybe it'll load correctly. Okay, no. Take me to the cookies, please. I don't want to the page. There we go. Okay, so now we're at cookies. And this is going to show us how to use the cookies. We're not really interested in the cookies. We're looking into sessions. So the example that they have in sessions uses cookies. We have this login date. And this is what we're interested in here. So I'm just going to copy this information so I don't have to keep jumping back and forth. And we'll paste it over here. So we say session equals await get session. Where's get session coming from? Get session is coming from sessions, right? Okay, so we need to pull that in from our session, which we can do here. And I think we're not using this guesses anymore. So we're going to say that this is pulling in from sessions. And what I want to pull in is get session. So now we're getting the session. Cool. And I think this is going to look somewhat similar, where we get the session, and then we have to account for this request coming in from our front end form, which may have the cookie, or it may be coming in from somewhere else we don't know. So what happens if it doesn't have the cookie? We probably want to bail early, right? So let's say, what do I want? Let's see, let's clean this up. I don't want the form information. I don't need the user ID. I don't need that. Don't need flash. I will need a redirect. And then this looks like the exact same code. And I am going to need that redirect. Okay, so now what we want to do is check whether this session exists. So if there is not, if the session doesn't have any guesses yet, then we probably just want to redirect back to the home page anyway. So this is essentially like a bail early clause. Otherwise, the session should exist, which means we should have previous guesses. So we can assume at this point the session has those guesses. And we're going to say guesses equals session get guesses. Yeah, we'll do that. And then we're going to push onto these guesses, whatever the request was. We don't need to return those guesses, but we do want to, let's see, what do we want to do? I think we want to set the session, update what the guesses are, and then here is the little bug that I discovered in Remix. Let's see, we need this redirect out of Remix. This little bug is that, in theory, the way we were working before should have worked, where we were updating the session and updating the cookie in this form action, this request handler. But I think there's a bug where, for some reason, we have to use this remix redirect back to the route that we just came from in order to actually commit that information. So if I did this correctly, I hope that that wasn't too difficult to follow. We should be able to see that heart is the first guess. No, apparently I did not. What do we have here? Any errors? No? Okay, so... No, okay. So something's not working correctly. Let's see what the session get guesses is. We're going to say test, doesn't really matter. We're going to send that. And the backend should have got some data. And it's undefined, it looks like. Very interesting. Okay, so that is how we set up our session. That is the session name. Here we're saying get the session. If the session has guesses, assign the session. Oh, I see what we're missing here. We are not committing our session information. So we need to do this same thing here. Actually, I think we need to do a couple of things here. I think in here, we're updating guesses and returning it, but we're not actually committing that to the session. So now, I believe this should work. Famous last words, where we set our data, update it if necessary. Regardless whether we've updated it or not, we set the guesses cookie to the guesses value, and then we commit that information to the session. And then at the end, we return that new value. We reload our application. We send some data. We hit enter, and we still are not getting our data. So, let me see. What did I have wrong? Okay, I think the one difference that we have here is we're just returning a value, and we may need to return that as JSON. I'm not sure, so let's see. Return JSON with our guesses, and then we have to have some headers, and our set cookie header should be that. So that matches the format that we have over here. So now we have a little bit of an issue where that should only run I think that may be. Oh, we have a problem there. Oh, what happened here? That's not a good. Huh. Okay, it looks like my... Whoa, okay. That's... previous guesses. Whoa, everything's broken. What has changed here? I think that's right. I'm not sure where this bug is coming from. Is it this guy? That guy shouldn't be there. Right, and this guy shouldn't be there. No, I have a bunch of bugs in here somehow. Okay, let's see if we can get back and fix this. That actually looks like it might be working now. Nested ternaries and doesn't like nested ternaries. That's fine. Remaining guesses and current guess is not defined. So for some reason, let's undo that change. And I think that fixed it. I don't know what happened there. Okay, so current guess is not defined. Current guess is now defined. I think just gonna restart the server because there was a lot of weird stuff going on there. Looks like it's working. All right. Now let's see. Guess. Now it's saving. If I reload, it looks like our cookies are working now. And then we can say second guess is also now working. Okay, so how did we fix that? Let's walk through it. Nothing changed down in our code here. But what we did instead was when this route loads, we are going to check whether we already have a session, and we're going to set, we're going to create a guesses array. If the session exists and it has these, if it has previous guesses, it's going to reassign that array to whatever the value was for those guesses. And then regardless whether it has new ones or not, it's going to set the session to the current value of the guesses, which may be this instantiated array or the previous guesses. And to return the data that we're going to return to this route is going to be in the form of JSON. We're going to return those guesses. And we're going to set the header to set the cookie for that current session with our new guesses data. When we submit the form, we're going to send a post message or a post request with our guess to the root route. And in order to handle that root route, we do that in the root route action. We don't need this guy anymore. And in this route, we're going to once again grab the session from the cookie. And if the session does not have previous guesses, we're just going to redirect. Because when would this scenario happen is if someone sends a post request right away. So we don't need to worry about that. We really only want to work with requests that are coming from our form and have that previous cookie defined already. So once we get that request, we're going to pull the data, the form body off of the request, and we're going to get the guesses from the session list of guesses from that cookie. And that should be an array. So we're going to push the guess from our form into that list of guesses. And then we're going to update the session cookie with the new array of guesses. I hope that's clear. And then the one little quirk, the reason why this wasn't working before was because remix.run has this weird issue where even though I can return here and the session should be, I can commit the session, it should be set. For some reason, I have to redirect back to the root route and set the cookie that way. So I don't know. I could have returned the JSON payload, but instead I have to redirect. And now it's working. And that data is stored in the cookie, and I have access to it both on the server side and on the client side. So now let's see. Puppy pushes another one, checks it, and that's great. So now that our code is sort of working, and that data is being stored in the cookies, the only way to get rid of it, to reset it, is to go to my applicant cookies and delete it that way because we're using an HTTP only cookie, which means I cannot access it with JavaScript. Okay, what is the next step now? I want to, what do I want to do? I think I want to get into, yo, web dev journey, what's going on, dude? I think it's Omri. Is that right? I just fixed the bug that we were dealing with. Omri, what's up? I just fixed the bug that we were dealing with last time where every time we reloaded, the memory, the previous state memory would disappear. And now it looks like I've got it fixed by being able to guess the next guesses. Oh, yeah, we got it right that time. Cool. And remembering the previous guesses that we had. And all of that is being stored in cookies. And again, the reason why we're using cookies is because we want that information to be accessible only on the server side, not on the client side. Now, cookies generally are accessible on the client side, unless you use an HTTP only cookie, which is what we're using. We could also use local storage, which I think is what the regular Worldle uses, but then you can totally cheat the app. Let's actually look at that, right? Let's go to Worldle and see if we can break it, right? I'm going to give a few guesses here and say, let's see, puppy and tests. Okay, and how about heart? I guess there's a bunch of things in there. Okay, so the T is in the right place. We've got the H. And I actually know what it is today, so we can just see what it is, right? And so now we've got an interesting situation because I've got kind of not so great scores that I want to share, and maybe I want everyone else to think I'm super smart. Well, I was looking at the source code here, and if we go to the application and we go into local storage, we can see the game stat here and the theme and the statistics. So I think I can actually edit these, and I can say, cool, my current streak is 200, and what is this? These are like which ones I've gotten it right on. So I'm going to say I've always got them right on the first guess. And you probably can't even see what I'm doing in here. Okay, so we're in local storage and we're like exploring the data that they've got. So actually, let me copy that and move that into, no, that's way too big. Let's move that into a new file and see. So I'm updating my current streak, my max streak. I don't really know what that is. My guesses, I'm changing it so that I always get it right on the first time. My fails, obviously 0. Win percentage, obviously 100%. Games played, let's set that to 200 so I don't look like I'm lying about stuff. Games won, obviously 200. And average guesses 5. So that's on average when I get it right. So let's set that to 1. So if we copy that, we go back to our browser and we update that with that value. And then we say, let's see what the board state is. And we see, let's see, board state is going to show my 5 guesses. So maybe I set those to none. And then absent. I have no idea what this is. But I can see that the solution there is light. So right away, I can probably figure out. Oh, there's a hard mode. I didn't know that. I think what I'm actually going to do is just clear this out. And then I'm going to copy this. And we're going to reload the page and see what it does. So now we can see that I've kind of broken the application, right? And I've reset the board state. Or the game state. My current streak is still the same. So if I go back and I change and I guess this right the first time, what's it going to tell me? Oh, cool. I'm genius. Awesome. I'm totally down to share these statistics where I've played. Oh, no, it went away. There we go. I've played 201 games and I've won 100% of them. I got it right on the first try. Current streak and max streak. I guess I didn't quite get that, update that correctly. But anyway, the point being that this is a game. It's not a big deal, but the fact that a user can come in and you know, a relatively tech savvy user can come in and make those modifications and change the game, that kind of matters. It might matter for different applications. Whereas if we look at our game, we have this sort of we don't have access to local storage, right? We're not storing anything in local storage, but we're modifying we're keeping the state of the game in a cookie. And I don't know about you, but I have no idea what this stuff means. This is the value of the cookie, right? Beats me. So me being able to get in and modify that, it's not going to happen. And we're not going to save that. And because I also can't do it with JavaScript, so I can't like programmatically go in and modify what the cookie state is. So I'm really dependent on the backend being the source of truth and that cookie holding kind of the state of what's going on. Okay, so next thing is next. I want to change what the actual guess of the day is. So this session thing, we do need... I went ahead and got this collection of words from a Worldle... let's see, from an existing Worldle application. And these are all real 5-letter words. So let me see. Let's save that. Close that. I want to open it. Export default. Could be just that, right? And that would be right. Am I doing that wrong? Export default equals... Am I crazy? Const test? No? I thought this was the syntax for export default. That's right. What's it complaining? Oh, that's the problem. Once again. Okay, cool. Yeah, I got that right. So we're going to export default this list of words, and it's a string. And for some reason, the syntax highlighting gets broken when you do this, but it's just going to be a string with all of these words, and they're splitting on this comma space, which doesn't make sense. It should actually be splitting on comma because we don't have spaces there. Okay, so that's my list of words. And then I think I'm just going to get like a random item from that list each day. So let's see. How am I going to... Oh, yeah, the Worldle is up here. So when this app loads, the way that I've seen other Worldle things do this is... Let's see. We need to import words from... Where is it? It should just be up one directory, and it should be words.js. And I think what I need to do is actually change my application logic so that I'm trapping the current word and the guesses and calculating based on what day it is. So, okay, let's maybe not make it so tricky, right? We want to do it based on today's date. So the guess here, I can get from today's date. And I think with this loader data, I wonder if I can grab the words just right in here and say log these words, or if I have to do that through the loader data. Worldle is not defined. That's right. Okay, let's keep Worldle defined. Oops. I think it was trout, although it doesn't really matter. Okay, so that should be fixed. So now what is this? Okay, cool. So I do have access to all of these 5,758 words. Now, how am I going to randomly select a word? I saw, let's see. So I saw this clever trick while I was looking through some other source code that said, let's see, can I capture this value? Copy object. No, I can't. That's all right. And I want to say, so this is what I saw. It's words at the index of new date, and then using the modulo of words.length. I'm not exactly positive what this. Whoa. Okay, let's not do that because disable for this line. Thank you. Still complaining, huh? Disable for this line. Okay, cool. That should work. Now let's see, what is that going to give me? Tongs. It's just going to give me a random word. And it's going to give me the same. No, it's not going to give me the same word. Well, that's not super handy. Because really, it needs to be the same word. Now I'm at a bit of a loss because on one hand, I want, maybe in the cookie I can store the date. I should divide the date. Should divide date to represent a day, don't I? Yeah, so this should return milliseconds, but I think I actually don't know what the idea was here. I'm going to look at one more example. Make a return a date day. Ah, I see what you're saying, because this is giving me, it changes every time you reload. That's right. And I want this to be today's date. Right, so I think we can say, Well, I guess the issue that I'm not really getting is how this plays out. Let's say this is 5,000, right? And that changes every time we run it because this is a dynamic value. But if we say new date and then d dot set, what is it? Set hours 0, 0, 0, 0. And then we say d modulo 5,000. Because that's always going to be 0. Dang it. So even if we reset it to midnight, that didn't work for me. Well, I think this is another one that I'm going to have to figure out off stream and come back to because I don't want to keep slamming my head against the walls here. Instead, let's shift and move into something that I can do without having to think about too much. And that is this display that I have here. So there's a couple things that I want to fix. Let's go into the styles here, right? So this little like squished bar and these super wide bars, this is not how it's supposed to look. And we don't necessarily have to match exactly what Worldle looks like, but we probably want something somewhat close. So there's two ways to do this. We can limit the size of the cells or the rows and columns, or we can limit the size of the whole grid and make the rows and columns fit. So which one do we want to do first? Any preference? A or B? Door number 1 or door number 2? No takers? All right. Doing the parent first. All right, so we're going to change the size of the grid. So the way we can do this is we can say that the, let's say the min width is going to be like 500 pixels. Sorry, max width. Max width is, that's way too big. So let's go down. We can actually probably do this even better. If we say that we want the cells to be, let's say 2 rems, we can say calc 5 times 2 rem, and we get that exactly right because 5 letters, and then each of the cells is 2 rems. That's pretty small, so I think I want to make that maybe 3 rems. And then we want the, I guess we can say the min height to be, once again, calc. We know there's going to always be 6 rows, and we can say we want them to be boxes. So that looks right, sort of. So we're getting closer here. And then let's go back up to our parent. And we want it to be centered. So I think one way I could do that is just do, let's say, margin left is auto and margin right is auto. And in fact, I want to make this even more modern for modern browsers. So instead of max width, we're going to go max inline size. And height is going to be min block size. And those are kind of the, they're called logical properties, I think. And this makes it so that when people are using, when people have their browser set up for different orientations, so different languages that maybe read left to right or things like that, this is still going to make sense. Same applies to margin left and right. Instead of margin left, we want margin inline start. Although can we do a shorthand with just margin inline? That's pretty sweet. So we don't have to do left and right. We can just do margin inline. That's going to be the left and right side. So if we look at our div, margin inline, it's getting both sides. That's great. We could even add some padding on the top and bottom by saying margin block is going to be, I don't know, let's keep with that 3 rems. Cool. So let's take that and let's copy that into our CSS. Well, we've got that on our grid. So how do we want to do that? Do we have? So I think these are going to be like, why isn't it doing my thing? Okay, that's weird. I think these are going to be slightly different than the atomic CSS that we've been working on. I think this is going to be more for a one-off style. So I don't know how reusable they're going to be. Maybe this margin inline auto I would reuse, but these feel like magic values. So I'm going to stick to that. I'm just going to say down here, the board is going to have these values. And it's not liking my tabbing is no longer working for some reason. Okay. I'm going to close VS Code and reboot it because my tabbing is not working as expected. There we go. Okay, Shift tab works, great. I can get these guys in, hit save. So we've got width and height and inline margin and block margin. And that should have, I think that's taking a moment to actually save. Hit save there. That's taking a moment with ESLint. And this is taking a moment. Oh, no, that's not taking a moment. We haven't put our class on there. On the game board. No, just the board. All right, that's taking to run this ESLint stuff. Slowing down for some reason. Well, I'll show you the other way. So we have our game board that we basically did all of the layout stuff just by adding styles to our board. Now what we'll do is look at adding styles to the letters, right? So if we wanted to, we could say that the letter, I'm just going to do this the short way. Oh, the letter width. Well, now it's fixed. Okay, great. So let's undo these really quick so we can see what it's like to do it based on the individual cells. And we're going to say the letter width is, once again, that 3 rem value that we had, and the height is that 3 rem value that we had. And then that shouldn't be on an individual thing. That should be on all of the letters. Okay, cool. So we've got our letters laid out, but it's still like using up this whole space and being a little bit funky. So if we go up to our board now, we can see that in the sort of blue areas, that is the actual cell or grid item size. And just the content is not taking up all of it. So if the content's not taking up all of the grid item size, what we can do is justify that content. So justify that content to the center. Sorry, it's actually justify items center. No. I know what I've got wrong. Okay, something was right there. But that's going to position, let's see. I do want the content justified center, but the cells are still not responding appropriately. And it's because we're saying that the columns here, these columns 5, are this 5 times 1 relative unit. So I actually did that wrong. This should be repeat 5. Can do this as the like 3 rems. So I actually don't need this. This width and height was incorrect. I'm still doing everything on the actual board, but basically the approach is different, right? So the focus is either give me the size of the board, where in the previous approach we said let's set the size of the board to be a max of 5 times 3 rem and 6 times 3 rem height. And in this case, instead of sizing everything based on the size of the board, you can see that the board is still the full width of the row. You can see that with the blue when I highlight it, the blue highlight, right? The approach that we had before, let's see. The approach that we had before was we're going to say that the inline size is 5 times 3 rem. So the board itself only takes up a small amount and all of the rest is margin around it. In the other approach, we are saying, let's see, we can keep that one. And I think we can probably keep that one too. So in this other approach, we're going to say that the grid template columns is going to be repeat times 5 of 3 rem. Right? And that sizes now, that only sizes each of the columns, but it doesn't change the size of the grid. And we can say justify content center. So that puts the grid content in the center. So now we still have the rows to deal with. And we can say grid template rows is going to be repeat 6 times the 3 rem values that we have. So now we've got our rows laid out as we want. And that's just kind of approaching it from a different direction, which I think I may actually like this approach better because then we don't really need this margin inline. And in fact, we can get even smaller by saying the grid template is going to be repeat 5 times 3 rem, and then I think it's a slash, and then repeat 6 of 3 rem. I think I've got it backwards. So we do the rows first, and then the columns. Yeah, and then we can actually undo our grid template columns and rows here, so we can knock both that out in one thing. So let's look at what we got here. I'm going to get back here and I'm going to change that. So I don't want this. Oops. I don't want this one. I don't need this inline, and I don't need this min size. And I'm just going to say the grid template is once again that repeat 6 rows of, yeah, sure, 6 by 6, 1 FR, 1 FR. Now we're going to say 3 rem, and this one's going to repeat 5 times. And we're missing the justify content center. Okay, cool. Justify content center. just going to play around with place content center. Okay. I don't think I want that place content. That's fine. Justify content center. Cool. So this margin might be something that I want to reuse. So what's 3 times 16 is 48. All right. So I'm going to say we've got some grid things, some border things. I'm going to put it here above the border and say margin margin in the y direction is going to be margin block 3 rem, and I actually want that size to be 48, so that we're saying the margin in the y direction is 48 pixels, but we're going to use margin block of 3 rem. And this is just so in case I need to reuse this value, it's easy to reuse. So we've got our board, we've got our grid columns. Yep, cool. Let's do that. Is there anything out of here that I want to repeat? I may want to repeat justify content. It's pretty unlikely that I'm going to want to repeat this very specific grid template. You like to call the FR units fractions? Yeah, I think that may be right. Or it may be wrong. I don't remember. But anyway, I think we've got this looking pretty good. Okay, so I actually, you know what? I do want to pull this out because I'm going to put this, let's see, we've got our gaps and our columns. And I think right here close to the grid stuff, I'm going to say place content center. And it's going to align with that. And why do we want to do that? I'm going to just do place center. Okay. That may not make the most sense, but the reason is as we build our grid here and we put all of our grid related stuff, there's something else we need to do for these elements. And that's these inside also need to center that letter. So let's go with the letters of the current guess and the previous guesses. The items in there should have a class of letter, yeah, and that's going to be grid as well, and place center, so we can repeat some of the CS we've used. This is letter, place center. This is never going to be full. This is never going to be full. So that's fine. So I think with that, cool. Our letters are in the middle of the boxes, and that's looking good. All right. It looks like we're running up on time. I think we covered quite a bit here. Still hit a couple of gotchas, but we had some fun building out some of the CSS to get it to actually look much better. And we talked about the cookies versus local storage stuff, which I think is interesting and super valuable to learn. So let's go back to my application. Let's open this back up. I want to look at my cookies and clear it out. And I think off the call or off the stream, I'm going to come up with the solution to how to actually get the correct word for the day and move on from there. So let's see. We've got heart is the one that I like to start with, and we can see that it's now showing us that is correct, or the T is correct. Cool. So what about wound? Oops. What about wound? It's another one to go with. And cool, we've got the O and the U and the R and the T, but the O and U and R are in the wrong place. The T is in the right place. So, well, I already know what the word is, so let's just do it, right? Trout, and it's working correctly, and that's super cool. That's it for the stream today. Omri, thanks for coming back and being consistent and checking it out. I hope that you're picking up some cool stuff from these streams. And let me know if there's other stuff that you want me to focus on, or you have questions, or anything that I can help with. Yeah, happy to be here. Happy to have you. Well, that's it for today. I will catch you tomorrow. I will be here. So see ya.